Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be here today at the Southeast Asia Summit on Prosperity and Sustainability. I commend the Stanford School of Sustainability for organizing this very important event in partnership with the Precourt Institute for Energy, the Stanford Woods Institute for the Environment, and the Hoover Institution. Allow me to express my sincere appreciation to Dean Arun Majumdar for his leadership in convening this important gathering and for helping to build lasting bridges between Southeast Asia and the United States on matters that will define our shared future. It is also particularly a great pleasure for me to see Dr. Condoleezza Rice here at Stanford. I had the honor of working with her many years ago when I served as Coordinating Minister for Politics and Security, and then as President during the critical years after 9/11 and Bali bombing, which deeply shook our two countries. I also wish to extend my warm greetings to all participants from both sides of the Pacific, leaders from government, business, and academia, who have come together with one common purpose: to shape a more prosperous and sustainable world. Let me begin by giving a reminder of the big picture regarding carbon budget. In 2018, the IPCC reported that the world had about 420 gigatons of CO2 left in the carbon budget to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming. As of today, this remaining carbon budget has significantly decreased to around 200 gigatons. The world is emitting over 40 gigatons of CO2 each year, and that number is not yet falling. A current rate of emission will run out of that carbon budget by 2029, just 4 years from now. Even as nations pledge to pursue ambitious goals, the reality is that we are still moving in the wrong direction, and time is running out. This decade that ends in 2030 is therefore extremely critical and strategic in our common effort to achieve climate security. If we overshoot the 1.5 degrees target, we risk entering an apocalyptic 3 or 4 degrees world that would pose an existential threat to humanity. Achieving climate security is without doubt the greatest project that mankind has ever faced. And in order to win this war, and yes, I intentionally call this is a war, all fronts must fall into place. We must get the politics right. We must get the economics right. We must get the right financing, and we must get the right technology. Despite the setback recently faced in global climate effort, Southeast Asia must be a region which can keep the hope for a sustainable future. With a population with a population of 700 million, 8.5% of humanity, and a 3.4 trillion economy, our region is the world's 7th largest economic bloc and well placed to be a champion of sustainability effort. For we living in the age of the great destruction, The global climate for cooperation is deteriorating. The world is no longer conducive to positive internationalism or meaningful multilateralism. We are witnessing the alarming rise of rivalries, mistrust, war, and conflicts, some entirely avoidable, that only deepen the fights. Trust among nations is low. In a good number of countries, valuable resources that could have been used for climate financing are now used for armaments. This is the exact opposite of what is needed to achieve a universal climate agenda, one that demands solidarity, shared responsibility, and collective ambition. We must get back on track. We live in a time of profound transition. The world is facing a storm of crisis, climate disruption, energy shocks, and food shortages are shaking both developed and developing countries. In this complex picture, Southeast Asia sits right in the middle. Our region is vibrant, full of potential, but this region is also deeply exposed to the threats of climate change, economic volatility, and geopolitical rivalry. Indeed, Southeast Asia has come a long way from a war-torn region mired in poverty some decades ago to become a region of peace, growth, and stability today. Yet we continue to face big challenges. Food insecurity remains a real and painful issue. In some countries, 1 in 4 children is stunted. Small-scale farmers still struggle with poor access to land, credit, and technology. Supply chains are vulnerable, and healthy, affordable food remains out of reach for many. Energy security is another serious concern. Fossil fuels still dominate. Electricity supply is uneven. Rural areas lack access. Meanwhile, our economies are growing and demanding more power. Renewable energy holds great promise, but the transition is slow, complex, and expensive. Then there is a water problem. In recent years, we have seen longer droughts, rising sea level, and erratic rainfall. This is the challenge of our time, and it is not theoretical. It is very real. It affects how people live, work, and survive every day. And I believe Southeast Asia is ready to step forward. But the way forward is full with challenges and will require us to make hard decisions, sometimes painful decisions. I recall during my administration, as we tried to achieve a balance between economic reforms and energy security, I chose the difficult path of raising fuel prices in 2005, 2008, and again in 2013. We knew there would be strong public protests and pushback, but the decision had to be taken despite the pain. So each time we match the price hike with cash transfers directly into people's pocket, the poor community. Protecting the vulnerable while pursuing long-term sustainability is not just a moral obligation. It is a political and economic necessity. During my 10 years as President of Indonesia, I learned that achieving progress required great imagination and even greater courage. Our economic growth grew strongly at average of 6%. At the same time, we placed a moratorium of deforestation, again despite strong resistance from the industry, and launched the reducing emission from deforestation and forest degradation, REDD Plus program. Our efforts in Indonesia also demonstrated the power of collective action. During my time in office, we successfully planted 4 billion trees, not millions, billion, across the country in 8 years, a feat many thought impossible. This was achieved through the collaboration of government officials, the military, companies, workers, students, and the public, driven by shared idealism. It was not always easy. We made mistakes here and there, but we kept the balance. In my belief, growth cannot come at the cost of nature. Environmental protection must equal social progress. I call this policy as sustainable growth with equity. Indonesia today, under President Prabowo Subianto, continues that journey. Our government has committed to a net zero Indonesia by 2060 or earlier. I know it is very challenging, but it does not mean it is impossible. I agree with Stanford University's assessment that Southeast Asia can be a critical frontier for climate innovation. Indonesia, as the world's largest archipelagic nation, second in biocultural diversity, and fourth most populous country, can set a global precedent for sustainable practices. Our unique geography and rich marine ecosystem make us a living laboratory for scalable solutions in renewable energy, blue food system, and biodiversity conservation. In the world of sustainability, it is true that technology helps, finance helps, but what truly drives change is leadership. We need leadership that is brave, honest, and visionary. Leaders who are willing to act, not only manage, who will take long-term decisions, not only think about short-term gain. Trust also matters. Without trust among government, business, civil society, and the public, policies will not work. Investment will not land. In our region, trust must also exist between nations. ASEAN must act together, support each other, be strong in unity, especially when facing global pressures. This brings me to a key message today. The partnership between the United States and Southeast Asia is more important than ever. It must go beyond commitment and strategy. It must deliver tangible benefits for our people. We need deeper collaboration and innovation. We can build joint research centers on renewable energy, coastal resilience, and food technology. We can develop tools that apply artificial intelligence to agriculture, fisheries, and natural resources management. We need better infrastructure financing, not only loans, but blended models like climate bonds. We need risk-sharing tools that make investment easier, safer, and greener. We must also invest in people, in students, workers, young leaders. Let us design capacity-building programs that equip our youth with the skill for tomorrow. Digital tools, green engineering, policy innovation. And we must align our policies. Trade, energy, education, and climate cooperation must be well coordinated. In this occasion, let me offer a simple proposal for our region. Southeast Asia should develop a shared pathway for sustainability. It does not have to be perfect or rigid, but it can provide common ground, shared goal on emission reduction, food access, forest protection, and energy resilience. Stanford and other academic institutions have a vital role to play. Universities are not just about research, they are engines of transformation. Stanford can create fellowship for Southeast Asian youth. Stanford can co-design policy pilots with government and local communities. Stanford can help us build the human capital that will shape the next 50 years. Education is a cornerstone on green growth. As I have noted, I was not educated about climate issues in my youth, but today's generation must be equipped with this knowledge from an early age. Universities like Stanford can lead by developing curricula and research that empower students to innovate in green technologies and policies. Stanford initiatives such as the Blue Food Assessment demonstrate its commitment to actionable research. By collaborating with regional institutions like Indonesia's National Planning Agency, Stanford can drive policy innovation and technology transfer, empowering Southeast Asia to lead in sustainable food and energy system. Let us not forget, some of the most powerful solutions to global problems are born in university classroom, labs, and conversation like this one. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, let me stress that we gather here today not as strangers, but as partners. Partners in effort, partners in purpose. Indonesia has a philosophy called gotong royong. It means working together, helping one another, sharing burden and joys. There is the spirit that the world needs, a spirit of unity, of solidarity, of shared responsibility. Let us choose cooperation over confrontation. Let us act with courage, not fear. I look forward to the exchange of ideas today as we deliberate on the pursuit of prosperity and sustainability for the regions and the world. With bold thinking and imaginative partnership, Southeast Asia, the United States, and the global community can build a future that is both prosperous and sustainable. I thank you.